Okay, Clarence, you want to start us off?
All right. Thank you everyone for joining our presentation on how Microsoft Teams promotes virtual collaboration. My name is Clarence Bernardo, and I am the project manager for the Learning and Development team at the Institute for Families through Rutgers School of Social Work.
And my name is Christine Blanos, and I'm an instructional designer at the Institute for Families at the Rutgers School of Social Work. We are here to introduce you to Microsoft Teams. Our story begins about a year ago when everyone was sent home to be virtual for a few weeks. And a year later, here we still are virtual. At that time, we realized quickly that we were not coming back and that we needed a way to be able to collaborate virtually on the courses that we were going to be creating. We had been using Microsoft Teams chat for about since 2018, and we knew that the tool was there with other features, and we needed to do some research to see if that was the tool that was going to fill this need for us to be able to be virtual and collaborate. So I want to know how many of you have ever used Microsoft Teams? Can you put the poll up, please? Okay, it looks like everyone has used Microsoft Teams. Let's go back to our, I'm going to give you a brief overview of Microsoft Teams before we talk about how we then started to use it. So we needed to first, we needed to do some research. So we are going to, I'm going to introduce you a little bit to Microsoft Teams. On the left-hand side, there is a features panel with the 6 main features of Microsoft Teams. On the right-hand side is the main panel with the information. So when you choose one of the features, you can find that information. So we're going to start with the first feature, which is activity. And in the menu area, you will see the feed of any activity that you have done within Microsoft Teams chat. And in the main area, you can scroll up and down, choose one of those conversations, and view the whole conversation. The second feature is Teams, and this is the one that we wanted to focus on and really dive in to see if this would be something that we could use. So in the menu area, you see the name of the team, and below it you see channels. The general channel is a public channel, and the private channel has a lock next to it showing that it is a private channel. A team is set up if you think of a filing cabinet, the channels are the drawers within those filing cabinets. And a private channel versus a public channel just means anyone that is invited into the private channel can see the information in that. The general channel, when you click on it, gives you in the main area posts for conversations and files. And there is a plus sign that you can add to enhance any other features that you want to customize for your team. So when you click on that, you will see that you can add a website, SharePoint, a list, or even a OneNote notebook. And each of these channels can have any of these features that you need. The chat feature gives you all of the chats that you have done outside of the teams that you are a part of. So for example, think of it as walking by someone's desk and asking them if they are, how their day was or how their weekend was. It's more water cooler talk rather than project-based, which would be similar to being in a meeting. The calendar feature allows you to see a week's worth of information, meetings that you have set up through Teams. If you have Microsoft Outlook, it will also connect with that, and you will be able to see those meetings as well. The calls feature allows you to do an audio or video call with anyone that has been set up in your organization to use Microsoft Teams. Just remember, this is separate from your telephone at your desk. You cannot call outside numbers, it's just those that are within your organization. And lastly, the files allows you to see any files that you have uploaded. You can upload them into a team channel or in a chat, and it will show you where and when you did that. So these are the 6 features of Teams that we have found that we decided that it was going to be useful for us to use this and collaborate virtually. So to help us do that, we decided that we needed an expert, and we hired a project manager, which is my partner, Clarence, who is going to show you how to set it up.
Thank you, Christine, for going over the features available in Microsoft Teams. Now that you know these features, I'm going to share with you some specifications about Microsoft Teams. The number of users or members in Microsoft Teams can go as high as 10,000 members, but you may want to check with your IT department just to make sure that they have set it up differently. In a team, the owner or the person who created the team can create up to 200 public channels and up to 30 private channels. If you need to delete a team or channel, there is a 30-day waiting period, which allows you to undo a deleted teams or channels if necessary. And one thing to note is that any teams or channels that have been deleted are still counted towards the 200 public and 30 private channels until the 30-day window has passed. Now let's talk about how I set up Microsoft Teams for the Institute for Families Learning and Development Department. As Christine mentioned earlier, I joined the Institute for Families Learning and Development Department to help the team virtually use Microsoft Teams for designing and developing learning products. The challenge was to quickly figure out a way to organize Microsoft Teams for them before they could start utilizing its many features, including the ones that Christine had shown us previously. So to do so, I collaborated with the program manager to determine the best setup for them. When we were planning the setup, we had to decide if creating a team for each learning product was the best option. There were over 20 courses in the upcoming year that would need to be developed, not including the ones that are already in progress. So the idea of creating a team for each quickly began to be overwhelming, as there was no way for the team to distinguish what type of course it was or which grant it belongs to. And during that process, I learned that the courses were under 2 major grants. So it made sense for us to create a team for each grant and add the courses as channels within each of those grants. Once that was established, we needed to organize each channel and only include members associated with the design and development of the course. And since each course did not really need to be accessible to everyone, it made sense for us to make each channel private so that all the conversations and project-related materials could only be seen by those individuals we invite into those private channels. The next step was to set up the channels with all the tools that would help the members be efficient and organized. As Christine mentioned earlier, each channel setup by default provides posts for conversation and files for file storage in SharePoint. The Learning and Development Program Manager and I discussed which specific tools each course needed. And as a result, we added a tab with a link to a Microsoft Planner, which is a task-based work plan. We also added OneNote to store project-related information for the team, as well as the link to SharePoint site so that everyone in the department could be updated about each grant that the course are being created for. Those were the tools needed by the Learning and Development Department, but there are several other applications such as Microsoft List, like I mentioned earlier, OneNote, amongst others that you could use to enhance your experience using Microsoft Teams. Once all the teams and channels had been set up, it was important for us to decide on standard for all the team members that would be using Microsoft Teams. This step was important in setting up expectations so that all members are using Microsoft Teams as efficiently as possible. Some of these standards were rules when to have a conversation in the chat versus the channel post, or when like the procedure on how to notify the channel when a task is completed. Once these standards were set, it was then time for us to share this new process with the team. And during one of our monthly meetings, we've introduced Microsoft Teams as well as the best practices. In that meeting, we also showed the team how to change the notification settings so that they don't miss any important messages, as well as the functionality of using the @ sign to immediately notify an individual or channel. For these couple of months, it didn't really take long for the team members to get used to Microsoft Teams, and everyone has become efficient in using it for remote collaboration. However, our team is still working on improving our utilization of Microsoft Teams, and we're still testing other tools available to help us streamline our process, such as OneNote and Microsoft Forms. In the upcoming slides, Christine will provide us a walkthrough of Microsoft Teams for the IFF Learning and Development Department.
Thank you, Clarence. Walker, it still seems that the breakout rooms are still in session and the participants have not come into the main group yet. But I'll continue. I just want to take you on a walkthrough of what a finalized team looks like for our Institute for Families Learning and Development, just so you can see how we set it up. As Clarence had mentioned, we have the grants. So I have 2 grants here, and any courses that I'm creating under the grants will be there, as well as a development central and a generic IFF place to have conversations. So going into one of the grants, you can see there's a general tab as well as the grants courses that I am working on. And each of these have their own customized pieces, apps for them so that we can work productively. The Learning and Development Central, they have all public channels so that all of us can contribute to it, as well as learn what other people have contributed to it. So any new members that we have on our team can go into this Learning and Development Central and see our templates, our group norms, our best practices, and things like that. We've also created a list of resources for you if you want to create your own teams. Yours is going to look different from ours. However, everything that we have shown here is capable to be customized for your needs. So thank you, and if you have any questions, we are here to answer them. I would also like to say that I'm going to share a link in the discussion that will link to this PowerPoint so that you can have all the information.